Hey guys, so I'm in the Nantahala National Forest today. We've officially moved to Appalachia. I apologize, I did buy a microphone. It's on its way here. We still have to, get things shipped to our new address. So I've got a nice little creek, brook with a waterfall behind me. So I'm speaking up. Today's video, the topic of today's video is kind of piggybacks off of a lot of questions I've had from guys, from people about going out, doing what I do, practicing what I practice, right? So that's a quick topic for today's video. Before we get into that, sponsors of today's video are Brownells, Rucksack, Nautilus Ammunitions, Good Camo, and more. All the links available at the link tree in my bio on my Instagram, bush_clad. Thank you to all those companies and affiliates for being able to sponsor and send me stuff and me be able to keep coming out and doing this. So thank you to them. All right. So I have a lot of guys when I make my fieldcraft posts, when I make my videos and whatnot. I got a lot of guys ask me, where do I do my field crafting, camouflaging, etc. Where, how, where, what happens when I interact with people. So to answer that plainly, the way I practice, or the skills I practice, generally are surveillance, reconnaissance type stuff. I'm not talking like being like force recon or whatever. I'm not talking about that kind of thing, the SOF tip of the spear stuff. I'm talking, I guess, maybe long range reconnaissance type stuff, which wasn't always always special forces that conducted it. It just has to do with reconnaissance and surveilling an area, the enemy, a location, etc., and remaining undetected, and not being seen by the enemy. Sorry about that. So reconnaissance and surveillance, and practicing those things, you want to remain undetected, you want to be unseen. So the short answer to people asking, what do you do when somebody sees you? Have you ever interacted with law enforcement, etc.? The answer to that is no, with the exception of 3. There weren't even incidences, they were just interacting with people, no negative interaction. I've never had an interaction with law enforcement until now, right? Because I'm here in a new environment with right here where I am in the Nantahala, the Appalachian Trail runs through. It's the beginning of the spring. People start doing their trek at this time of year, so this national forest is a lot busier. So it makes it harder to know where people are going to be, because through hikers, it's either an individual person or maybe 3 or 4 people, and then you might see them in the distance. Because the other thing too about back east here with a lot of these trails is they're very small, they're very thin, and you can't see them unless you're right on top of them or like you're crossing over it, right? So so I practice remaining undetected, and I learned that when we lived in the Southwest, in a lot of the places I would go to, including the Oregon mountains, where depending on the time of year and the time of day you were there, you could either be the only person there, or you start as the only person, and while you're making your way through the bush, there are people on trails not very far away from you, and you practice remaining undetected, not being seen by them, because that's the whole point of surveillance and reconnaissance. Is because the minute somebody has seen you, they could, quote unquote, whatever scenario, report your location to the enemy. It be the enemy, whoever the enemy may be, right? So that's the thing. You got groups of guys going out and practicing together. Oh well, that's why we use public land, etc. There are billions of acres of public land, state and federal, that you are allowed to use in the whole country. Billions of acres. And to limit yourself to private land that you've been given permission to do stuff on because you can do whatever you want, it's a little silly to me. I would rather tailor my training, what I'm doing, around learning the areas where I'm going to be, right, where I am, learning my environment, and understanding I'm going to go here this season, because when it comes down to it in a real world scenario, you're going to potentially have to interact with people or stay away from them. More so the latter, staying away from people as much as possible, because we're small groups of people, self-funded, self-sustaining, right? We don't necessarily have the ability for a battle, a long engagement, hit and run. That's literally what 90% of our groups are able to do. We're not supposed to, / we can't have a sustained interaction, because it's the point of having small groups, long-range reconnaissance, going out, surveilling, etc. That's how you win something in the long run. That is the long end goal. That isn't your direct action CQB firefights in an urban environment. When 80% of this country is this. Different environments, obviously desert, mountains, etc. But it's this. There's nothing. And you're on your own. You don't have close air support. You don't have field hospital, medical, etc. You're on your own. So that's what I do. I practice. I learn the patterns of the area around me, conversing with recent groups that are from Appalachia, talking to them about where they practice and stuff, getting some information about the AT, which means I'm going to rotate through this area where I am, and also the other 2 national forests near me, and just kind of learn. Like, see, I'm not in full, I am in full kit, right? I got my chest rig, my rifle, camis, but I don't have like a full pack. I'm not wearing a plate carrier. I'm not wearing a Kevlar. You know, I'm just out here with a rifle, right? So it's not as intimidating if you are seen, depending on what people consider intimidating, but it's not as intimidating, because also you don't want to be a dick about it, right? You don't want to go, it's my God-given right, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, it is, but you don't have to be an asshole about it. Have some tact, and just be quiet about it, right? You don't have to go out and, I obviously post this on social media, but I'm not making a big deal about what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, in short, going back to the beginning, I practice surveillance and reconnaissance because to me it's a bit more applicable in the long term, in the long run. So yeah, so that's just kind of answer. I've had that question, so I'm going to preface people to this video when they ask, have I ever been seen, etc. Like I said, 3 times, no interaction with law enforcement. So yeah, just a quick video. I gotta go. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.